listen, stylist.
Russian missile barrage knocks out power to Ukrainian cities. It says a salvo of more than at least 76 Russian missiles knocked out power and water across UKR as President Vlad forces continued their campaign of attacking infrastructure. But of course, they're out of rockets and, they don't have anything left. It says rockets slammed into residential areas across the country on Friday. The capital, Kiev, was targeted by 40 alone. Although air defense forces shot down 37, overall UKR forces downed 60 of the missiles. Commander-in-Chief of the UKR Armed Forces, Valery Zaluzny, said on Telegram, it says this is one of the most massive attacks since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in February. It says the attack underscores Moscow's focus on pounding UKR's energy infrastructure in an attempt to weaken the nation's resolve to resist Putin's invasion. Russia used Tupolev Tu-95 aircraft, and this comes into play later. Again, they are saying that it came from aircraft from the Engels Air Base for the first time in the almost 10-month-old conflict. UKR Air Defense spokesman Yuri Inhat said. So just so you know, they're saying that these aircraft are the reason why this huge strike happened. Of course, everyone's talking about a possible no-fly zone. The Patriot system is going to be sent there. This is all of the pieces to the puzzle that is WW3 coming together, and we're sure hoping that it's not going to happen. But of course, many of us, including myself, believe that this is inevitable. We will be right back. We're going to talk about all of this and much, much more on tonight's Marfoogle News. Tonight is a call-in show, so remember the number's going to be scrolling down below. Get in early right after we introduce Dex. Call 2244-00-MARF. If you have info, call us now. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Stylist. Violence, all we have is violence. Try, listen, stylist.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over in a short amount of time, so if you're new here, if someone shared my show with you, you can always go over to marfooglenews.com to find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Again, hold on, let me fix this. Sorry, guys. When you go over there, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. Today is a live show, so anything can happen. So remember, if anything gets cut out, you can always go to the website for all of the news we have collected from all over the world, and you'll see that everything has a source. That way you know exactly where the information is coming from. Now, at the very bottom, there's some big stuff. Obviously, a lot has been going down in the last couple days as far as Elon goes, T-Man, and everything else. There is a ton of stuff down there. In fact, I believe today there's something like 40 stories in completion down there. So make sure to go check it out. Also, check out marfooglenews.com/friends if you want to know all of our friends and great creators that surround us. They are great people. That's why we surround ourselves with them. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so let's get right into it. I wanted to, before Dex, we're going to be opening up the phone lines here in just a second. I do want to point out that this first story is a very good reason for the public, or for at least, telling the world that they need some sort of protection. They need a Patriot system. They need to take down these aircraft. Specifically, they point out that these were aircraft from Engels Base, and I believe, Dex, isn't Engels Base the one that they just recently attacked? The one that they struck the...
That's correct.
Yeah. So you'd kind of expect that if you hit an air base in a conflict, in a full-scale war, that they're going to retaliate. But again, this is calls for them to get not only the Patriot system faster, but also for it to be running and up and running. If they do a no-fly zone, there is a million videos on why, and experts all over the world saying this could lead to something bad. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, I was going to say, I think, the other thing that this story sort of talks about, and it's sort of in between the lines, so to speak, is they're coming at it with newer tech, right? They're now coming in with airplanes. Not that they haven't been flying planes, but this big barrage was because of the planes, right? They were using the planes. They were launching stuff at a distance where they were out of range. And they were having a heavy attack again on their infrastructure. Now, we have said specifically that from intelligence that they could only do this like one or two more times before they would be out of everything. They wouldn't have anything left. And I think that's, my opinion is that's not true, because we're seeing it, the fact that they continue to do it, and the fact that they're using different things, they're mixing it up. It's not like they're just shelling over and over again, which is all, they keep saying that's all they can do is shell because they don't have anything. They're running out of munitions, they're running out of missiles, they're running out of the XYZ, right? Insert thing here. So I think this is sort of proving that point that, yeah, they've got a lot more up their sleeve, and they got a lot more things that they can do, and they'll amp it up if they need to. And this certainly looks to be evidence of that. And it's absolutely something that I think if we had the Patriot system there, you would see this conflict get escalated at a much greater level very quickly.
And that's what they're saying that they're going to do. And remind you, like there's been the big attacks that they say they've knocked out. They've all been publicized. The largest one I think was 84. Then it was 40. It's been under 500. Do you think that a whole major power, military power, would have like 500 missiles? How many missiles do you think of this nature, the ones that can go long range, strike a city? How many? Do you think it's in the hundreds? Do you think it's in the thousands? Do you think it's in the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands as far as these missiles? Now, remind yourself that since WW2, Russia has been a superpower only because of their military. So when the news and the media is telling you that they're running out of missiles, I don't understand what the hell they're basing this on, because it is absolutely a bunch of BS. They can completely manufacture these things. They can make their own, and they have a ton of allies that will do it as well. They, of course, have come out with these little articles kind of, trying to logically explain why it's not slowing down, and that's saying like, oh, well, we notice that they're still building them even after sanctions. It's like, well, of course they are. They're not going to stop because of the sanctions. They didn't stop anything else because of the sanctions, financial sanctions and embargoes, and saying we're not going to give you this. They have enough stockpiled. They were preparing for a World War III for decades. You're talking about a country that literally thought that they were going to go to a full-scale battle with the most powerful country in the world. You think that they didn't stockpile a ton of missiles and a ton of weapons? In the beginning of this conflict, everyone saw that they were putting in 100-year-old rifles. They were putting in ancient tanks, T-60s or T-70, whatever the older tanks are that are straight up, basically could have served in WW2. And they were grabbing conscripts within 3 or 4 months. After 3 or 4 months, they grabbed people off the street, including people from 30 to 60 years old, and throwing them in there. Untrained and uncouth fighters that they were just basically like, let's put them on the front line. Every conflict has seen inexperienced people put on the front line and basically sacrificed. And this goes all the way back to, before we had books. So you have that happening. And then, of course, the media wants to control the narrative and say, Vlad is losing. He's tucking tail. He's very ashamed, and he's mad. He's crazy. And they've always put a verb in front of this. And I'm not saying I'm for Vlad. Vlad's a bad guy. But of course, I do see the manipulation of the information, because that information is key to keeping this thing going, to be able to keep this conflict funded and to keep money flowing to whoever it's going to. It's definitely getting hotter, and the fact is, we don't know exactly what's going on. And anybody that does say that they know exactly what is happening here, I guarantee you they're wrong in at least 50% of it, because no one is correct right now. There is so much bad information and contradicting information out right now. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. But if you do look at the big picture, and if you look at all the little things happening, you know that we're being lied to in some respect. I mean, in many respects. So this going on right now is very alarming, and people will only be alarmed, and you guys know this, when the news cycle starts scaring the crap out of people. Yes, it will. But then when it goes back to normal, it's like everybody it lives day to day, and when they see the scary news, then they get to this level where they want to prepare and stuff. This is news from a prepper standpoint. We think that you should not ride that roller coaster, and that you should be straight across, and that when it's calm, you should still be prepping. When it's super excited, you should be calm and still prepping. You should be, riding a straight flat roller coaster, a kid's roller coaster, instead of this crazy Six Flags thing that they do with us. Right now, people need to have extra food and water. They need to have their stuff in order in case something happens. And that's not to scare you and say that the world is ending. I believe that we all see what is happening right here. And when we've done our polls, it seems that most of you guys agree as well. Something big is coming. I said this before CV. I said there's something weird going on. There's all these drills. There's all these exercises. There's all these graphs coming out about how this future demic is going to affect the entire world's population, and how it's going to affect the entire world's financial system. And then it happened. And those same agencies are doing predictions and graphs and exercises and drills regarding WW3. A lot of these things are telegraphed in advance. It doesn't mean the end of the world, but it means the beginning of a great war. It's been a long time, and people just cannot wrap their heads around a world conflict. All right, and then going back into the news, we're gonna take a break from the conflict for a second and go back to it in a minute. Musk bans journalists, breaks Twitter Spaces, and suspends competitors all in one day. So a lot of folks are not following this. Again, in America, there's only about 3 out of 10, maybe that's gone up, on Twitter. That was the numbers before Elon took over. But what is going on Twitter right now is absolutely huge. And we did add to the website the 6th edition of the Twitter files. These are huge, huge, huge things coming out. Now, if you see somebody saying it's a nothing burger and this and that, I believe it's a bot, or it's somebody that's just completely trying to hide things from people. I don't understand it. What just recently came out is that the F, B, and the I was essentially sending email after email saying, hey, take this account out, remove that, remove this, remove that. That's absolutely terrifying that they are actually, and these weren't big accounts, they were small ones saying, don't let them say that, don't let them say that, curating basically what was being said. We attached that on the website. Very crazy stuff that is coming out right now. That is the 6th edition. There were 5 others that basically go over everything that people basically thought and now is confirmed. It says Twitter suspended the accounts of more than a half dozen prominent journalists who cover its owner, Elon Musk, a self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, late on Thursday. Now, I do want to point out, I'm not trying to take a side here, but Elon, actually, the accounts, media is going to spin this in a way. Just to be factual, he actually suspended the accounts, not only that were sharing the real-time data of his plane, but also after he made a rule and said, don't do that, journalists actually retweeted and then went in and the new server, or wherever it was coming from, they actually posted how people could reach it and get a hold of his real-time data and his flight logs and all that stuff. We kind of did a poll yesterday or the day before. Do you guys think it's appropriate? Do you think it's okay to dox his flights, real-time info? Many people said that, hey, it's public information. Why not? But how he has done it, he has these bots that basically track, and they're able to track his exact location based on his jet. And, you know, for all of us, we're like, yeah, be able to track your private jet. Not too many people feel too bad for him. But he suspended the 6 journalists or however many journalists that were actually reposting that doxing thing that basically told his Sweeney's website or bot that does that. And he now is on Twitter basically saying, hey, I'll let you back on, or he's doing polls to see how long people should wait or how long he should wait until he lets them back on. It says several of the reporters had recently posted about a now banned Twitter account that tracked Musk's private jet using publicly available data. Many also had published articles critical of Musk. Twitter also suspended the account of the competing social media platform Mastodon after it tweeted about its own version of the Musk jet tracker. It said earlier this week, Twitter suspended more than the 24 accounts that track planes of prominent people, including government officials and billionaires. After Musk said that crazy stalker followed a car carrying one of his children in Los Angeles, any account doxing real-time location info of anyone will be suspended, as it is a physical safety violation. It says he tweeted he has not submitted any police report to the Los Angeles Police Department. So what they're saying is there's no formal record of what happened to his son, and some people are doubting that it even happened. Again, I believe it. At somebody his level, I'm surprised it doesn't happen every day. It says the suspension Thursday capped off a chaotic week for Twitter, even by the standards of the Musk era. On Monday, Twitter dissolved its Trust and Safety Council of outside advisors shortly before a planned meeting. The group was formed to help Twitter address hate speech, self-harm, exploitation, and other thorny issues. So as far as that goes, before, they were doing a pretty horrible job. Now, there was a debate on Twitter if this stuff was even happening. One person responded kind of ignorantly saying, well, I've never saw CP stuff on here, and I've never seen stuff related to children and this and that on here. This is a bunch of BS. The whole point is platforms like that and the one that I'm on and all of the ones I'm on, they have systems that were in place where these gross people were being able to exchange stuff and put it on private locked accounts, and people were able to get into the stuff. It was there, and it wasn't being handled by the prior thing. That's at least my opinion. I have seen some stories that covered. It's kind of like when the main platform we're on, YouTube, when they had this weird kind of algorithmic thing where if somebody typed in a period or this, it would bring you to all of these scary pasta videos or something, or if you watched a certain type of video, the algorithm would feed you more. And on all of these videos, there were weird comments. That was the cause of an adpocalypse that happened a couple years back. Once that was found, everybody, obviously looked at it, and it was crazy. I mean, it was insane how the algorithm was actually feeding this stuff, and people had this whole chain of things. So I do believe it's real, and I do believe it should be handled, but apparently they ended up dissolving this. The one part that I don't like is the speech part. Who decides what this is? As far as hate goes, we all know it's BS. We all know that there is stuff in there that is considered that is not. That is an opinion. Now, there is some stuff that, should be, kept to yourself, but there's an overall argument happening right now on Twitter and around the world. Should everything be allowed, and then let the person decide what, shouldn't be allowed? If there's no speech, if you cut out certain parts of speech, then you're basically hiding this whole, era of people and this huge group of people and what they think. Dex, go ahead.
I think it's just fascinating that last week, the entire media was saying we can't have free speech because we have to protect all this stuff. And now today, the media is saying, what happened to free speech? Why are you banning journalists? So it is almost comical the way he got them to flip their script, so to speak. And I don't know if that was intentional by design or if it's just the way things happened, but I find that pretty humorous. As far as the exploitation stuff, It's also pretty disheartening when you look at the amount of information that they put out today about the three-letter agency and what they were doing, going after people that were really not saying anything all that bad. Like, hey, make sure you go out and do the big event that happens in November. Get out and support, right? And they were saying, shut those people down. But where was this big three-letter agency to go after all this exploitation stuff that's happening? It's not like they didn't know it was there. It's not like Twitter didn't have access to it. They've had years of being able to do this, but none of that time was spent, or at least it wasn't obvious that was spent doing that. They spent time, censoring people with speech that was not even that, it wasn't even illegal or anything that was harmful.
Yes, and I want to clarify. Somebody named Tim G said, just like the censoring that goes on this channel. So first of all, this is different. This is not a public square. And just to explain real quick, so if you go to anybody's channel, whether it be Alaska Prepper or Paul and Adrian Off-Grid Desert Farming, there's general chat rules. We want to keep a space that people are not pushing people down, not insulting each other. Basically, you can share your opinion no matter what it is if you do it in a polite way. You can say, I politely disagree, and I believe this. That's great. When you say you're an idiot because of something else, then that's not going to fly. But as far as this censoring, if you consider inviting somebody into your living room and then they start screaming at you, what would you do? Well, you would probably say, get out of my house. As far as this chat, it's not a public square. I own it. In fact, it's just like you coming into my business or my establishment, which everybody argues that if it's a private company, you can do this. It is a private establishment. It is where you are coming into my bar. Let's just call it a bar. And if you start screaming, you can say, oh, well, go outside. See, there's free speech. You can go ahead and say whatever you want. But if you're going to come into my house, put your feet up on the table and start screaming at me, I'm going to say, hey, go ahead, scream what you want, but do it from the street. You would kick them out and you'd say, you can go stand out on the sidewalk and say whatever you want. And the police would say the same thing. As far as any channel that you go into, they are the owners of that channel. They could take that channel. They could sell that channel. They own it. They own the property. They own the IP, the intellectual property as far as all of the content. They own it. So if you come in here and basically put people down, that's our rules. You don't do that. If you come in here and, start saying that the callers are stupid or dumb, that's a mute. We always try to give people 3 chances. We say, hey, tone it down or whatever. But once people get muted, they get offended and they're adults. So they go, I don't want to be silenced, and free speech, free speech. You have the ability to, you're literally commenting on a channel that you can make videos on and say whatever you'd like. That's free speech. The ability to be able to have your message heard by anybody and everybody. But as far as going into somebody else's house and insulting them, who's going to do that? I wouldn't let somebody scream at me in my own living room. I would say, hey, go outside. Do it from the sidewalk. That's how it works. It's not, you can have free speech, you have free speech, but you don't have, you don't have the ability to come in somebody else's house and be rude to them. They're going to kick you out. So that's how channels work. And that's why there are mods. And that's why, all of the mods have simple rules. Just no putting people down, no insulting the callers, and be nice. And that's about it. And I would say the less talked about one is, straight up Satan worshiping. I wouldn't have you in my house doing that, so I'd just rather it not in my chat. Berlin hotel's huge aquarium bursts with 1,500 fish inside. So first of all, it doesn't seem that crazy, but when you see this thing, this was a humongous, absolutely massive fish tank, and it ended up busting. And you could see if you were down below, or if you were, sitting down in this lobby, you could have possibly died. Look at how big the people are compared to this thing. This is like a cafe or a Starbucks or something. And this is a massive, massive fish tank. Well, apparently something happened here and it busted. The entire thing emptied out. This basically went out into the street. It was like a tsunami that came out of this building. It broke through walls. It broke through steel doors. That's how powerful it was. Pretty crazy. This is, again, it says a 50-foot high aquarium burst in a hotel in downtown Berlin on Friday morning, sending hundreds of thousands of gallons of seawater and 1,500 tropical fish through the lobby and onto the street. The force of the blast and the water coursing out of the building pushed mangled debris from twisted lamps to bellhop trolleys onto the street in front of the hotel. About 100 firefighters responded at the scene, cordoning off an intersection close to the hotel. Radisson, near the central square of Alexanderplatz, the authorities were checking for structural damage to the buildings as guests were evacuated, and 2 people were taken to the hospital treat cuts caused by shards of glass from the burst tank. Some guests let out of the hotel described the street strewn with dying fish, some of which appeared to have been frozen to death by the frigid morning temperatures of 19 degrees Fahrenheit. So I wonder if this actually had if this, well, I don't think it would because of the temperature outside. I just wonder if you do have something like that happen. Obviously, the inside was, climate controlled. The cylindrical tank called the Aqua Dome, part of the Sea Life tourist attraction in Berlin, was built in the hotel in 2003, held 264,000 gallons of water. The makers of Aqua Dome described it as the largest cylindrical free standing aquarium in the world. So it says the fish that survived are being moved as safely as possible. Let's see here. And it knocked out electricity to the hotel. It did some pretty bad damage. Again, it went from this to this. Not too fun. And then, so this was the news yesterday. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, stupid this and stupid that. I heard a lot of people even on, T-Man's side saying that this was really dumb. Myself and Dex were talking about this, about how this was a real bad screw up on Trump's team, because they ended up releasing the NFTs on the same day they came out with the Digital Bill of Rights video. So there was a big video. He basically said for a week, like, hey, there's big news coming out. There's huge news. I'm going to do this huge video. Keep tuned in for it. Well, on the same day that he was putting out this video, which was the huge news and this big thing, he also put out these NFT cards. So what media did is, it seems like they purposely said, oh, well, this is the big news. It's some trading cards, NFTs of, T-Man in a Superman suit and looking really super corny. It says all 45,000 of the Trump NFT cards have sold out in less than 24 hours. Which is pretty insane. I think they were $100 each or something like this. I think it shows here. Yeah, $99 each. In fact, it was trending on Twitter as $99. That was all over Twitter yesterday because the media and somebody pushed this narrative that this was the big news. It says that DT launched a collection of 45,000 non-fungible tokens, trading cards, Thursday at a price of $99 each. In less than 24 hours, the collection had sold out, according to OpenSea data. There are 14,666 owners in total. With around 64% of them owning only one item. The biggest holder had 1,000 items. The second biggest owner owned about 489. So they spent... Is that... What in the world? That is like... What is that? $5,000? Something like that? Through this number was fluctuating Friday morning. It says, according to the data, the collection's trading volume is about 900 ETH or $1 million. The floor price, which is the lowest price in a collection, is 19 cents or $226. Or 0.19 ETH or Ethereum. It says that more than double the original $99 it sold for. Some cards are selling for much higher prices, with one card at around $24,000. Well, I guess that guy that spent $5,000 on him might be kind of smart. If he gets rid of them immediately, well, there's people that want to get it. I don't get it. And then T-Man announced the launch of his NFT collection on Truth Social Thursday, stating that they would make a great Christmas gift. First of all, I don't know if this was fundraising. He doesn't need $1 million. That's what he sold them for. Now they're going for a whole lot more. I didn't get it. But the point is, this was pushed as the big announcement. When in reality, it was this video that he put out, and he said he would do all of these different things. If you want to call in, you can call in at 224-400-MARF. I hope that you guys are able to get into that phone tree. Make sure to press option 4 when you do. So what he was saying as far as the video was much more important. Let's see here. In fact, so people said that it wasn't. It was unclear whether T-Man plans to do with the money made from the collection. And what he ended up putting out was this video that shows that he was going to make sure that no government or big organization or big tech could not go in and fiddle with people's lives, people's accounts, to be able to do what essentially we know is happening right now. Throughout all of the Twitter files, we found out a whole bunch of stuff. What he's saying is that it's going to be a complete overhaul, and right when he starts in 2024, if he's the prez, then there's a bunch of executive orders he's going to immediately sign. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the chat below. I'd love to see what you guys are doing, and thank you, Rip Curl Readiness, for being here. Thank you as well, Able Bodied, for sharing the number. That's 2244006273. Paula Hawk, there is callers tonight. Feel free to call in yourself. Adventures of General Hooligan. What do you call in for? You can call in for whatever you'd like. Almost done. We'll be back soon, says George Washington. Carol McLean, what is going on? Mary. And then, real quick, let's see here. I want to thank Robbie Skykiller, Zenwen AZ. Let's see here. And Dillinger, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Also, I wanted to say there were 4 people, so including Trilicit. I actually made the intro song for Trilicit that I missed their super chats at the beginning of the show, but I did want to let you guys know if you were one of those 4 people in that show where we had a bad storm, I believe it was Wednesday or Tuesday, just know that I actually did shout you guys out, and I actually, after the end of the show, before I switched over to jams, I went back and I hit all of those. So if you go to the very, very end before we switched over to jams, I actually did hit those early super chats. But I believe a couple of people did not go until the very end of the show. I actually had to go frame by frame because I took it pretty serious as far as, but either way, I made sure to make a song for Trilicit and some others that I ended up missing. So I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you so much for your patience. All right, and then we're going to be getting over to the phones here in a second. The number is 2244006273. Make sure to call in as ASAP. So hold on here. Let me make sure that I got to this. And U.S. begins buying back oil for Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So it says that the U.S. Energy Department said on Friday it will begin buying back oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or the SPR, the first purchase since this year's record 180 million barrel release from the stockpile. The department will buy up to 3 million barrels for delivery in February, a senior told reporters. It said that President JB announced a $180 million sale in late March to combat surging gasoline prices that boosted inflation after the February invasion of UKR. Of course, they had to add that it's Vlad's fault for all of the price raises and everything that's going on right now. It says the sale shrunk levels in the SPR to about 380 million barrels, their lowest since 1984. Another number that pops out at you, right? 1984, what a wonderful number. Raising concerns about energy security, it says we'll be releasing a solicitation to purchase 3 million barrels of oil for delivery in February of next year. It says contracts will be awarded to energy companies by January 13th. This approach will lock in a price up front when companies submit their bids, the official added, to help relieve supply shortages at refineries after an oil spill last week shut down the Keystone crude pipeline, and the Energy Department will also execute an exchange of about 2 million barrels from the SPR that companies will have to send back at a later date. Says we were able to do that at the same time we're doing the 3 million barrel buyback. The White House said in October it would buy back oil for the SPR when prices are at or below $67 to $72 per barrel, a bit below where the U.S. benchmark futures were trading on Friday at about $75. Says we're going to try to be nimble and flexible here, the official said, adding that the department likes where prices are now for exploring buybacks. It would be very useful to put this notice out now and see what the market would provide in terms of interest and at what price level for that. So this may affect temporary gas prices here in a couple months. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll follow it. And again, that's something that most of you have to deal with on a daily basis. I know that it has been an absolute nightmare buying gas for anybody right now. At over $5 a gallon here, it's insane how the same amount of money that just a couple years ago could get you a full tank will get you a quarter of a tank. It's really that bad. And then Carol McLean, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super sticker. Says thank you. Heath Spear says thank you and prayers and love for the whole Marfoogle crew over this Christmas season. Well, thank you, Heath Spear, again from Australia. And then Here I Am says thank you, Adam and Dex, for just being awesome and getting us the news we need to hear. Well, thank you, and thank you. Barbie Burns Fat, thank you again for the last show. And Blue Angel 14, Za Nay, wishing all a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a blessed Kwanzaa. Well, thank you for coming out. And then Yukon Cornelius. Awesome. Thank you for your support last show. All right, we're going to be going over to the phones. I'm going to be opening up the screener, see who we have here so far. And feel free to call in at 224-400-MARF. If you have crazy video, if you saw something that's absolutely nuts, you can also submit it at marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo, and we can actually show it here on the show. We have Lisa, a first-time caller, talking about Richard Montbleu and Us and Them Part 2. So while we get Lisa on the phone, see the notes here. Thank you, Dex. Which we're going to pull up a video. We won't be able to play it because of copyright, but I'll pull that up now. And then if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Energy. Energy makes solar generators, and they are some of the best on the market. I do believe they are actually the best. That is my personal opinion. Again, I have many friends with different kinds of solar generators, and I have friends with the really crappy solar generators, the ones that are on YouTube ads. As far as these ones go, these are the creme de la creme of solar generators. The Energy company makes some of the best in the world. These are awesome because of the technology, not only inside, but the technology that they use for their solar power, as far as the solar panels and how you can mod some of these units. The Kodiak X2 has a less weight, as far as you can get one of these in as little as a month. And people were going, well, why do I have to wait a month? Lithium is in high demand and in low supply, and Energy is in such high demand that when they get batches of lithium, they make these and then they send them out. So as far as the Kodiak X2, everybody that ordered in November got them in December. If you order now, you will most likely be getting them in January. As far as the Flex 1500, that is the flagship system that I have. It is an amazing system, and it is modular. It works like Legos. They actually stack on top of each other in their own footprint, so there's no external cords that go from battery to battery. And it is an amazing, amazing system as far as being able to extend it up to 96 batteries. This system I highly recommend, but it's not for everybody. If you're a van lifer or an RVer, definitely the X2, which is all built in one. That one is great, and you can actually dual link two systems to output huge amounts of power. As far as these are silent, which means you won't be hearing them from 3 blocks away. You'll be in stealth mode. Which in an SHTF or general just emergency situation, you don't want people hearing that you have power. These are awesome, awesome units. Make sure to go check them out at marfooglenews.com/energy. There's probably a solar generator for almost anybody, including they also have one that's about this big called the LT. That one is also a solar generator. You can plug it into a solar panel. It's 350 watts, and that one is great for running a TV or, running a couple devices and charging a bunch of devices as far as cell phones, tablets, any kind of electronics that you need on a camping trip or in a bug out spot. So go check out the X2, the LT, and the Flex 1500. When you go and support those guys, you are not only getting a huge discount, up to $170 off on certain packages, but you're also helping our channel. We are independent. We are running this ourselves. So again, we don't have a multi-channel network to back us up or to protect us from the boogeyman. We have you guys. So thank you so much for your support, and thank you for your patience and Again, if we do have an ad or an affiliate, it's something that we believe in or that we think that will help you improve your life or save your life. Having power when there is none is a huge, huge upgrade. All right, and then before we talk about Japan, let's go to our next caller. We have Lisa on the phone. Lisa, you are live. What is going on?
Hello, Adam.
So, Lisa, I'm going to load up this video.
Just sitting here and...
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, just sitting here a little bit north of you, enjoying the cold weather.
Yes, it's very cold, and it's about to get a lot colder. You know that, right? Possibly negative degrees.
Yeah. Oh, up in the side of Washington?
Even in Washington, we might get down to the 10s or less. That's at least what our weather people are saying. So the majority of it is going to be the northeastern side, and we showed a map last night. But Washington technically is outside of that map, but that does not mean that we're not going to be completely hit by it. Wow. So they're saying that we might have negative temperatures and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah. But yeah, go ahead. So what's going on tonight? What are we looking at?
Oh, well, I called in just because I wanted to share some information with the callers and all about a lot of things that are going on this day and age. And I've sat down for about, I don't know, going on 3 years, and done nothing but research for all this time, all day, all night long. And I was blessed enough to come upon this name, the Richard Montbleu, and he has some videos out there. And I listen to you guys every show, and I really enjoy reading the comments just to see how many, people are paying attention. It seems like you got a good amount of people that do, but there also seems to be a lot of questions and stuff. And it seems to me that sharing this man's name here on these videos, he has a two-part, and it's called Us and Them Part 1 and Part 2 is a good starting area. But he's got many, I don't know, maybe a dozen other videos. And this man, I'm telling you, will explain everything to everyone to know what's going on and what the expectations are of what's going to go on. I guess without me going into too much detail, I just wanted to share his name and his videos because I think that everybody can learn a lot to completely understand what's going on. This man has laid it out very well. And it's biblical and everything you see going on tied to that. And you can't deny it. You can't argue it. It's written and it's laid out for you. And it gets pretty complex at times, but I think for the most part, it's laid out very well.
So let me ask you a question.
And I just thought I would share that.
Lisa, other than we'll link his channel, and I to be honest, I've, because we get all sorts of suggestions of people to watch. I always love finding new people.
Oh,
I've
no.
not heard of Richard Montbleu yet, but now we have, and we're going to link him on the website.
Oh, boy.
So, but I have a question for you. What do you think is happening in the near future? What do you think what does it look like from here to 2025?
I'll tell you, let me say that I'm going to be 60 years old on Christmas this year. So
happy
I've
birthday.
lived a while. I've lived, got grandbabies and children of my own all raised. But we're in a spiritual war. You're at at the crossroads, and the time is getting slim. People need to pick your path. I mean, I can't lay it in any more simple terms than that. And if they just give it some time and watch out these things from this man, it's the best I've seen anywhere. And let me tell you, I have hours all day, all night of research that I have put in. And he is, you can't argue it. And it could open up some people's lives to know what road to be on.
So people are asking,
the broad or the narrow path.
People are asking, his last video is 4 months ago. Is he not? Is he creating or?
No, it looks like he said in one of the videos or something that he had to take a little bit of time off or something, but he's got a new video coming out pretty soon. I've been looking at that myself, waiting for the next one. I'm telling you, you'll probably watch them all. Who's ever listening or whoever's going to watch this, once you watch one, you're going to watch them all. You're just going to go, whoa. So, that's to me, what's important today is that people really know this stuff was all written a long time ago. And it's all happening as planned. It's out in everything that they're doing. I mean, I don't want to get any words tied up wrong or anything, because I just wanted to be real simple to share that name. I think it'll be very helpful for many.
And it looks like a bunch of people already went over, Lisa. In fact, about 100. It was at 10.6. Now it's at 10.7. And I'm sure that a few other Foogle fam will go over and check them out. We of course, love helping new channels or new channels to our Foogle fam. I hope at some point I can reach out to him and meet him. He's over 10,000 subscribers. I'm surprised I haven't seen him yet, so I'm excited to find a new channel.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I just found him, I don't know, a month ago or so, and so I've been through all of his videos, and I just got lucky through another site, and somebody was sharing that information, and I went over there and just went, wow, this is the best, simply the best, and it will open many people's eyes who have any kind of questions. It's going to be very helpful. And you will not be able to argue. I'm sorry. So,
well, Lisa,
I just think everybody needs to get right.
Well, that I agree with.
Everybody needs to be right with the Creator, not the creation, the Creator.
Well, Lisa, I appreciate.
That's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate your call, and again, we're going to end up linking him over on our website, so everybody will be able to get to him very easily. You can go to marfooglenews.com to find him.
That's awesome. Thank you, Adam. It's very, very awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa.
You.
It looks like.
Thank you for all you guys do. I love watching your shows, and I just would say, I don't know. It's pretty crazy world.
Yes,
and I just, have prayers for the whole bunch, That's all I can say.
And I apologize if I've interrupted you tonight, but I think there's a bit of a delay, so I keep cutting you off. But Lisa, I appreciate your call, and thank you so much for calling in and suggesting somebody new.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for all you do.
All right. Well, thank you, and have a blessed night, and happy birthday, okay? Happy 60.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you.
Again, she suggested Richard Montbleu. There's two specific videos that she suggested watching. They cover two very different subjects. It looks like the last video that he did was over the New York City emergency management, the nuclear PSA. So I am definitely going to be watching that after the show. Again, any of the suggestions on the show from Foogle family members, take them as that. As far as I am going to check it out myself. I don't know the content yet, but definitely looks like a nice guy, and he's covering some pretty similar stuff as far as what the content is. So I'll go check out Richard. It says Richard Montbleu. All right, and then you can find him on marfooglenews.com. We're going to be linking to his channel and to those videos that Lisa suggested. And thank you, Lisa, for calling in. God bless. And then Japan Defense, China threat prompts plan to double military spending. So I have said follow Japan, and many others have as well. So Japan has had a lot of really weird things going on as far as we are all kind of in our own bubble of wherever we live, whether it be in Europe, Australia, or in the US or Mexico or Africa, wherever you may be right now watching the show, we're all kind of in our own bubble. And we have media, though, that are owned by a very small group of people. Japan works a little bit differently. Now, if anyone has ever lived in Japan, please say your experience of how different it is in Japan. We've talked about some pretty different culture values that they have there recently. Like they are seriously getting to the point where they're just now doing kind of IDs with stuff and all of this. They've been using fax machines. They prefer all cash. They're not a digital society. In fact, they still do fax machines and checks and all of that kind of stuff. But as far as why that's important is they have actually been in their own kind of bubble, and they've been a lot different than the rest of the world. They will sign a check for millions and millions of dollars that will never end up being a positive, beneficial thing to their own generation. They look at future generations. So a lot of the things they do, you can see it's for the future generations. So when they started talking about being a military power, that was Shinzo Abe's party that really pushed, that says, hey, we need to stop being a defensive country. Things are going on outside of our country that we need to start acting on beforehand. And Shinzo Abe, the former prime minister, was actually taken out, and he was taken out by a homemade shoddy. And the story behind it, you can go and dig in that one. I would say question everything on everything, but as far as the guy, he said that the church that is represented by Shinzo Abe or whatever took money from his mother, and that's why he was mad. I don't know about all that. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I do know that he was taken out from behind at a speech with a homemade shoddy. And the thing that he was pushing is something that is, obviously debated there, because they have always been a defensive country. They have never been an offensive country. They don't just go to countries. They're not like the U.S. They're pretty much the opposite. They will only get militarily involved if they are attacked. And now it is going to be different. Now they've been doing drills. They've been doing all sorts of different things now. And it says Japan has announced it will double its military spending in the next 5 years, citing regional threats posed by China and North Korea. It says it will also acquire the ability to strike enemy bases. This is something completely new. And with Shinzo Abe's passing, his party actually just went up astronomically. His party and their values, they started winning votes, and they started winning all of these different debates because again, I think in general people in Japan would say that his passing actually helped his party. The changes mark the most dramatic overhaul to Japan's security strategy since it adopted a pacifist constitution after WW2. So in World War II, they actually took on this pacifist constitution that said, we won't do anything unless we're attacked. They're changing that. Japan is going to be a big part of this. Japan is a part of this whole ordeal with China, and Japan is one of Taiwan's biggest supporters as far as they don't want Taiwan to be taken because they believe they will be next, or that it will affect how they run their country, how they run their shipping, everything else. If China takes Taiwan, that takes away a buffer from them. It says, under the plan, Tokyo will buy U.S. long-range missiles capable of destroying enemy launch sites if it is attacked. It says it will also increase its cyber warfare capabilities. Earlier this week, Beijing urged Tokyo to view their relationship as a cooperative partnership. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida told journalists that Japan's defense budget would be 2% of the GDP by 2027. Unfortunately, in the vicinity of our country, there are countries carrying out activities such as enhancement of nuclear capability, a rapid military buildup, and unilateral attempt to change the status quo by force. It says there are also now becoming more outstanding in the next 5 years. In order to fundamentally reinforce our defense capabilities, we will implement a defense buildup program worth 43 trillion yen. It says a national security strategy document approved by the cabinet and quoted by AFP News described China as the greatest strategic challenge ever to securing the peace and stability of Japan. It also noted that China had not ruled out the use of force to assert control over Taiwan. China's embassy in Japan responded by accusing Tokyo of making false claims about its military activities. It says there's also concerns in Japan about North missile capabilities. Pyongyang has fired more than 50 missiles over the past 3 months, including a ballistic missile over Japan in October, the first time in 5 years. Meanwhile, the Japanese document described the Russian invasion of UKR as a serious violation of laws that forbid the use of force, which had shaken the foundations of the international order. So they're looking at everything around them, and they're making, they're preparing. This is not only there's been some Fugel family members from Japan. They said that, of course, higher up, they are looking at this and they don't see a way around a WW3 scenario with what China is doing right now. So you can believe what you want, but it seems like something has been set up over the last, after decades, but in the last 5 years, it has picked up since I started covering this. And I showed you every single country has now fallen in place. Since I started this 5 years ago, everything has fallen into place. Every financial move that needed to be made for the world to be completely divided into two sides is now happening, including neutral countries that have never been involved joining NATO. I mean, you're talking about real changes happening here, regardless of what secret power is doing this, or regardless of what operation this is a part of. For us civilians, you act like, they care. They don't care about us. They don't care how many of us they lose. If I'm gone tomorrow, somebody in their castle will not care. And they won't care if you or any of your family, even the little cute ones, they don't care about you. They don't care about us. We are the stuff on the bottom of their shoe. So just watch Japan. Japan is a huge part of this, and the fact that they're doing this should be a wake-up call to everybody. Joshua, what is going on? Mr. Streets Hopkinson, thank you. Thank you. Vamush said, I saw your comment earlier saying I would be way too nervous to call in. Well, I hope not. You should call in. Kimbria, good evening. Fugel fam, what is going on, Kimbria? Thank you. And even though you are here, Vicky K, at the beginning, I said I was going to say it anyways. Thank you for your nightly stop by. Yobi, Beer Juice, Scooby-Doo, right? Thank you. Yobi says, hello, Marf, Dex, and fam. And don't forget the mods. Ecto1, thank you for donating a bell. That is new. Stoplight, thank you for donating a bell as well. Looks like that has taken the place of lemons, I'm assuming. Yeah. Geez, that happened. I did not know that they changed it to bell. Cognitable, okay, I've reconciled myself to no chest. By the way, my DLive app just would not work. So if I try to watch people, I was trying to watch my friend, could not. Maybe that's because they were switching over to the bells. Beer Juice, thank you. I do love me some free speech. Let's see here. Scooby-Doo, right? Thank you. Kimbria, good evening. Again, thank you. And the end is near. Thank you for 7 bells. Some changes, and then there's still ice creams. Jammer 1, thank you. Appreciate that. Athena de Guzman, good evening all from New York. Don't fear calling in. It's a lesson. Some kinder than others, but makes you better the next time. Speaking in is needed. I hope you dance, hee. The Foggle fam. I love when people say the Foggles. Okay. And then Congress clashes on loans versus grants for Taiwan military aid. Let's see here. So we had Lisa. We do have brother Al or brother AI. I don't know if that's Al. I think that's brother Al on deck. But we do have a line open on the back end. So if you want to call in, the number is 2244-006273. I especially encourage you to call in if you have family in the military and if you've heard something recently about any kind of escalation, and if you can share the general details, nothing that will get anybody in trouble, please call in at 2244-00-MARF. Congress clashes on loans versus grants for Taiwan military aid. It says that several top appropriators are pushing to offer loans to Taiwan to finance as much as $10 billion in military aid authorized in the annual defense bill as a way to alleviate budget pressure on the State Department, which is overseeing the foreign military financing program. The position is part of a behind-the-scenes clash over how the emerging spending bill for 2023 will approach military aid for Taiwan, as Washington and Taipei seek to deter a possible invasion or blockade by China in the coming years. Lead appropriators want to offer loans, while lawmakers on the foreign relation committees want to give the money to Taiwan outright through grants. So they're deciding whether they're going to be loaning the money, which if they don't pay that back, do we end up having power over Taiwan? Or if they don't pay him back to whoever is giving it to him, that would put somebody in a bad position. But if a grant happens, they're just going to say, oh, we're just going to give over the money, which it says that we thank the U.S. Congress for its bipartisan support for Taiwan's security. Andrew Huang, a spokesman for Taiwan's diplomatic office in Washington, told Defense News, we urgently need the help and hope the assistance will be allocated as grants. We will maintain close communication and coordination with Congress and the executive branch to ensure that Taiwan's defense needs are immediately met. It says the fiscal 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, which the House passed 350 to 80, which, by the way, is one of the biggest ever in history, includes $2 billion for foreign military financing per year. Per year. For Taiwan over 5 years, and another $1 billion annually in equipment from U.S. military stockpiles. What in the hell? So not only are we giving our equipment to UKR, but now we're going to be not only funneling money, but also equipment to Taiwan. It kind of shows you that if they're doing that for this right now, what do they see happening in the future with Taiwan and China? Is this going to work out like UKR? Well, it seems like it is, because China's now stockpiling grain, stockpiling corn, stockpiling gases, stockpiling natural resources, and also stockpiling antibiotics. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is an antibiotic shortage, which with a majority of them, 97% of the active pharmaceutical ingredients that go in them are made in China. About 90% of all of our antibiotics come from China. So I wonder what is happening here. It seems like they're getting ready for possible sanctions, for possible kind of the same actions that happened to Vlad. And then if you look at the situation with China and Russia, there is no situation where they win a conflict unless it is a two-front conflict, or at least that's what the studies say. Meaning, China, the U.S., and Russia have all done their own think tanks and studies on this. They believe that the U.S. would lose if it fights a two-front war. So if it's fighting Russia at the same time it's fighting China. China found this, and they have actually put it out in all of their media. They have said that their opinion is that if they were to win, they would need to go to conflict while there is another full-scale conflict going on with Russia. They do not believe we can handle it. The Pentagon has looked at it and said, yes, the same thing. So if we ever do get into a conflict with Russia, I would highly look at, as far as China goes, what would happen right after that if they go to war with both of them. Now, also, you have to think about how China has infiltrated many other countries, has, obviously put money into many, many countries, and they are currently doing something very, very odd over the last year, which I think is common sense to look at, is how they are opening up police stations around the world. In fact, in 30 different countries, almost all of them are our allies. So what are they doing in all of those different countries? Seems to me like the common sense answer, and my theory, this is just my opinion, is that these are spies looking at the countries, and probably these guys are walking around studying each and every country for reconnaissance. But that's just my thought. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Which we have a lot of great people here right now. Thank you so much, Flip TK, Able-Bodied, The Plan, and Script. Miss Dosh and I, China invading Taiwan, not an if, but a when. Yeah, it seems like it's going to happen, but that's just my opinion. Aaliyah, we'll see you in a second. Watchwoman of the Vine says hello. Adam, do you know how to contact the woman who called in from the military I missed that. Lord Andrew, I'm trying to think of who you were talking about. Including in the U.S., China controls the UN. Munitions need cotton linter and comes from, guess, China. Yes. This is just the beginning. Wait until they come at your door. A lot of people are gray or something. A boat accident. Michigan Lifestyle. PJ Warden. Extinguished Shiffy. It was a Roman soldier. By the way, we have, I think, how many? We have nearly. We have 3,500 here. Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody that showed up today. What do you guys think is going on with this? But they're still drafting this thing. It's a lot of money going out, so just get ready for that. A lot of defense money, and I just want to point out, they are shipping gear out. What happens to us when we're in a conflict and we have already sent all of our gear somewhere else? Sounds kind of like it's short-sighted, right? And by the way, thank you, Heath Spear. I know you're here tonight, but thank you also for the super thanks on that last show. It says, thanks, Marfoogle family, with prayers for a wonderful Christmas for your loved ones. And then Dan Shannon, thank you, says, to my beautiful mom, Rose, who passed on Sunday the 11th. She was loved by all who knew her and will be greatly missed. That was Dan Shannon. I really don't want to mess that up. Dan Shannon? Dan Shannon, or Dance Shanwan. I'm so sorry about your loss, and I'm sure your mom was a beautiful, beautiful person. Scrappy Doo says, sorry for your loss. May your mom rest easy. And then Sarah Tarr, thank you so much. Thank you for helping me out on Twitter last week. As always, running a few days behind, but catching up. Well, thank you. And Lori Oder, thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate that. And Trilicit Stylish says, wanted to reach out to Be Real Beast. Firstly, congrats on your soon-to-be baby girl. I don't know if this is your first child, but you already know this. But if it is, please watch her close medically. I'm not one to trauma dump. Oh, I think I know what happened here. Okay, so Trilicit Stylus, that was a super thanks. So I believe you were watching when it wasn't live, because I actually went through all of the live super chats and I could not find you on that show. Or unless that was last night. Yeah. I believe that's what may have happened. It says absolutely no given reason. A month prior to this, she was diagnosed with seizures. Then a month later, she is gone. Please watch her close medically. I'm not the one to trauma dump, but my wife and I just lost our 6-month-old baby girl in October and was absolutely given no reason. A month prior to this, she was diagnosed with seizures. Then a month later, she's gone. I just want to emphasize, don't think the unlikely can happen the way I ignorantly did, because here I am writing a hard message. Take her to the doctor for the littlest thing and demand answers. It's a very long story over a short 6-month life. But hearing the great news for you, I wanted to reach out as a friend / Foogle fan member. As always, thank you, Marf, Dex, and family. That was to Be Real Beast and Trilicit Stylus. Now I understand why that was an important message, and I understand that completely puts it into perspective. Trilicit, I am so sorry for your loss, and as a father of 4, I cannot imagine, and any parent has tried to, and they, you always say to your significant other, can you imagine? And you just can't. I'm so sorry for your loss, Trilicit, and I'm sure there's many Foogle family out there praying for you. Again, I made this song because I believed I missed you, but I think I figured it out. May have been right after the
Trilicit stylus. In all the silence, a trilicit stylus.
Just wanted to say I do appreciate your support, and now I'm praying for you. That was such a really incredible, thoughtful message for you. I'm gonna try to put that on our website. Be Real Beast, I hope you're here, and I hope you heard that. Ex-Marine pilot allegedly tried to source T-2 carrier trainer jet for China. we keep hearing about this. I mean, it seems kind of obvious that Xi is got his country intertwined with everybody. They're doing all sorts of moves right now, including, we're going to talk about later, they're moving serious firepower in all around the world. Dex, I might have you pop in here in a second. By the way, if we can, there's a super thanks on there. I'm sure you heard that. If we could add that to the website. And then let's see here. Zen1AZ, thank you so much. Dex, if you could pop in about the Ex-Marine, I know you're going to have to get off the phone here because we've got our next caller lined up, which is Brother Al, I believe. And you can correct me if that's Brother AI. I hope it's not Brother AI.
No, it's Brother Al. You're good.
Okay. The ex-Marine pilot allegedly tried to source a T-2 carrier trainer jet for China. What's going on with this?
Wow. So yeah, we've heard about these pilots, and I should call them former pilots. I'm sure they still have their pilot licenses, but this in the past with like the UK and other places training, like getting paid. Obviously, they're just taking a paycheck and not thinking about the consequences of what they're doing. But they're over there training people how to fly in Xi's country, specifically military. Well, this is new. We've got somebody here who was actually trying to procure a T2 carrier trainer jet. And I guess, sometimes these older jets get sold off or decommissioned. And it looks like he was trying to procure one and do it for the sake of giving it to the Xi's military, the PLA. So kind of an interesting, I never would have thought somebody would go to this kind of length, but that's what they did. He's tried to purchase this, tried to get it in a way that would then go to China and give them it's not like it's advanced military tech. These are trainer jets. A lot of times, for those of you that aren't familiar with the pilots, they will spend a plenty of time in these T planes. They're different T numbers. They're trainer jets. And they use them for flight time. If they need flight time or if there's specific training, some of the jets do different trainings and stuff. But there's a whole list of these T planes that we have so that they don't have to spend, the hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour flying a, expensive F-35 to keep their flight hours up. They, can run around in some of the T jets, like in this case, a T2. So it's not like he was selling an F-35, which probably would never happen because they wouldn't decommission those and sell them off into the private sector. But in this case, he apparently was trying to get one. It's a twin jet T2. It's an older plane from the 1950s. It provided basic training to the future U.S. Navy and Marine Corps aviators, including carrier landings, because it had the arrestor hook on it and the sturdy wide track gear and other design elements. So this was one that they specifically would use to test and train the pilots to land on a carrier. So that is the plane that he was trying to sell to or buy for himself and then turn around and resell to China. So kind of a crazy story. We've heard lots of these different things happen, like the pilots that were training. We've talked about the spies that were selling off information. We've talked about the I think even NK using and having hackers try to get in and convince people to write articles for them under the guise of a think tank. There's all sorts of these crazy espionage-esque stories that are happening, and we'll continue to cover them when we find them. This one's obviously pretty interesting. It's not necessarily very advanced tech that like all of a sudden we're going to be in trouble if they have this T2, but it certainly does give them, a plane that they could use to teach their pilots potentially how to land on carriers.
He's a trader.
To design it, to recreate it so they could mass produce it and use it for their own training.
The guy's a complete POS. He's a traitor. What do you guys think? What does the chat think? If you knew a Marine, I mean, this is a Marine. This guy tried to help China. What do you guys think of this Marine? I don't say ex-Marine. They say because I learned you're always a Marine, right? It says the former U.S. Marine Corps jump jet pilot. he knows what he's helping them do as well. Like it's like, the intention is there. I won't say that I don't know the whole case, but I don't think there's any reason, unless this is like straight out of movie where they have his daughter held hostage or something, and it's like a freaking Taken movie or something. But how do they keep turning these Marines? This is like the fourth one. Yeah, traitor. Wow, Carol McLean. Yeah. Woo! Yeah, why don't we even see that anymore? I bet you they wouldn't do that if the punishment was that, right? The 7 people line up, pop, 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 goners. Jeez. 99.999% of Marines wouldn't do that. But there's always that 0.1%. And then China sends, one thing I will say is, who knows, maybe he just, there's a lot of vets out there that aren't taken care of, but still, what motivation is there to help? What their intentions are. And then China sends ships into the Pacific amid Japan's security moves. It's a squadron of Chinese Navy ships sailed through the straits near Japan into the Western Pacific this week, while Beijing on Friday blasted Tokyo's adoption of a new national security strategy, putting itself on a more offensive footing, largely as a result of the perceived threat from China. It says the destroyer Lhasa and Kaifeng and a replenishment ship sailed through the Osami Strait in southern Japan, while a Dongdao-class surveillance ship with the hull number 796 sailed through the Myoko Strait south of Okinawa, all arriving in the Western Pacific by Thursday. So just to put this, out there, we have major... you have major destroyers and major military movement of Chinese Navy moving around and heading towards the Western Pacific. They, of course, went on both sides of Japan. What is actually going on here? It says Japan's defense ministry said the craft were closely shadowed by Japanese ships and planes throughout. The CCP newspaper Global Times on Friday cited unidentified experts as saying the mission sent a signal amid Japan's recent militaristic moves that will display the People's Liberation Army's capabilities in safeguarding China's national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and development interests. Basically saying, like, hey, we've got a navy, the largest navy in the world, and we want Taiwan. That's how I take it anyways. What do you guys think? China routinely sends warships through straits between Japanese islands, even while it vehemently objects to the presence of foreign Navy ships in the Taiwan Strait. All are classified as international waters. So basically calling them hypocrites. They don't want people going through the Taiwan Strait, but then they go through the Miyako and other straits all the time. Late last month, Russian and Chinese strategic bombers also flew over the Sea of Japan and the East China Sea during an 8-hour mission in a show of increasingly close defense ties between the two countries. China and Russia are drilling nonstop right now. There are at least 14 different missions going on. That's insane. All over the world, China and Russia are doing these missions together. Facing challenges from North Korea, China, and Russia, Japan on Friday adopted a national security strategy declaring plans to possess preemptive strike capability and cruise missiles within years. This isn't just Japan. This is looking at the big picture. Look at all of these countries which are now getting the new tech, the new gear, and preemptive strike capabilities and military abilities they've never had before. You have Finland and Sweden. I mean, like, look at this. And people still think, oh, nothing's going on. This is replaying history. It says, but experts say China's growing influence, Russia's invasion of UKR, and the fear of Taiwan emergency prompted many Japanese to support increased capability and spending. China says a group of tiny uninhabited East China Sea islands controlled by Japan and Beijing regularly stokes resentment over Japan's brutal occupation of much of China more than 75 years ago. So they still hold a grudge. Remember, Japan actually went in and took a bunch of areas and occupied much of China. back when they didn't have anything. So this sounds like a kind of a high school resentment that's turned into grown-up snapped revenge. Japan plans to spend 5 trillion yen to deploy foreign-developed standoff missiles as early as 2026. Now, I'm going to make a prediction right here, and we can go back to this show when it happens. I bet you that timeline is going to be moved up to like a year at most. Just watch. All of the deadlines that said 2026, 27, 28 have moved up to now or in the next year. All right, so we're going to... And then, Dex, if you do want to comment on this, you can. This is obviously... more of these huge moves. I wonder what they're going to be doing in the Western Pacific when they get to their destination. That's one thing I wonder. But Dex is going to be getting our next caller on. It looks like Brother Al. And while I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out EMP shields. If you want to protect yourself against an electromagnetic pulse attack or even a CME from the sun, a coronal mass ejection, there is a device to do so. If you're new here, then again, this is a device you can wire into your trucks, your cars, your house, your RVs, pretty much anything that you want to keep running, including your ham radio. They make tons and tons of different devices for almost everything you want to keep running. From a CME attack, an EMP attack and a CME, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This device will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. This is the same company that's outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas government, the Texas grid. Again, go over and check it out. It's 100% American made. It's a veteran-owned business. Everyone that works at that company is absolutely awesome. Any Foogle family member will tell you they're actually part of the prepping community. They are they're literally in it. Some of their founders are actually YouTubers and creators themselves that actually started out in the prepping community. So really great people. It's a great device, and it will save lives if either of these happen. But it can also protect you against lightning as far as the house versions. Anybody in the Midwest or somewhere where there's a ton of lightning, this is a great investment. It's not expensive as far as what the result is being able to drive home in an emergency situation or being able to bug out. It's pretty amazing. And the fact that it protects everything within 250 linear feet once it's wired into your home, that's essentially most homes. As far as anything within 250 linear feet from that wired-in device, everything plugged in is going to be protected because you can't really put your whole house in a Faraday cage, but you can do this. That's EMP Shield, marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right, let's get Brother Al on the phone. Brother Al, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Marv, Brother Al at your service. Oh, God. I just wanted to really report some information I got out of Jacksonville, Florida, out of the Children's Hospital. I don't know if this is a precursor to something else that we'll see around the country, but at least it was brought up here, and then, Foogle fan, we can track it from here. But I had a friend of the family go through something really traumatic at the Children's Hospital. And I was texted because I work in medical sales. So they asked me, do I have any needles? And the answer was no, because I don't move that kind of medical supply. And then I was asked, do I have any gowns? And I thought that was strange. And then they said they're also out of running short on children's medication at the Children's Hospital. So that tells me something. If there's a shortage on gowns and needles and children's medicine, which we can also see locally at the store, at the store level, I don't know if this is something that's going to start picking up throughout the country. I also reached out to a buddy of mine who was an LPN out in Chicago, and he said, no, they're not seeing anything like that, and they're fine. So I don't know if this is the beginning of woes for hospitals. Usually there's always a company that'll pop up out of nowhere that'll take the dirty needles and claim to clean them and send them back, and the hospitals won't tell us anything, right? So we know the hospital has a history of cutting corners. I hope that just by bringing this to consciousness that obviously we stay alerted towards it. I'm not going to hold you long. Also, I don't just work in medical. I also Follow My Dreams and Passions as well. And I got an album out. Shout out to Dex for putting my Behind Enemy Lines, my EP on the website as well. Thank you for your support. My job is to promote End Times Confidence. So I'll let you start.
Brother Al, that's awesome. So we have the link to your music, and it's called Behind Enemy Lines is your EP?
Yes, sir. It's Brother Al on all platforms, but the EP I just released is Behind Enemy Lines. And it's basically like, it's me narrating the fact that if you are a believer in the most on this side, then you are behind enemy lines. No matter what country you in, if you are a believer, you are the one behind enemy lines because everything is set up against you. So my job is to create a record, a little EP that is designed to provoke the confidence in believers when there ain't none. So I feel like when you close your car door, that music should stick with you. And the gospel music that's coming out today is not sticking with people when they close their car door. That's why they act up when they get to work. So I'm trying to do something different as the Lord has blessed me to do. And I'm just here to play my part, Brother Al, at your service. So, God.
Now, Brother Al, what do you, and if you can, be careful, but why do you think that these gowns and the accessories that poke you, why do you think that they're so out? Why do you think they're running out? Do you think that it's because of what's going on? Or
let's say. Mm-hmm. No, I here's the thing. I work with Landsets. Okay. And we got plenty of those. And I'm like, do they need those? So obviously I can make some money. But I do believe that there may be a distributor issue in that area. Okay. That maybe on a massive scale, that distributor is running dry when other distributors aren't. So it's only a matter of time before the distributors. So a lot of these hospitals have distributor contracts that may be for the state or maybe within a certain network of hospitals. So if those distributors are running dry on that, they can't go to another distributor without being robbed by that next distributor. Does that make sense? It's like if I'm a warehouse, and I know that warehouse is run out of product. If you call me, I know what you're calling me for, and I'm going to make you pay. So if that's not in the budget, then I have to wait till that distributor gets it in.
Are a lot of these made overseas in a specific country that we've been talking about tonight? Do you think that might be part of the problem?
Absolutely. Whether this is for the word that rhymes with Ina, I don't know if it's them, but the bottom line is that if this is the beginning of woes for hospitals, then what I joke with Dex like, hey, a lot of places got more things for the face, so you could actually sew a bunch of those together and make gowns out of it in an emergency. We've seen people do all kind of crazy things and make things out of things that shouldn't be during the 19-year-old series. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking that within the gowns, you guys, when you run out of gowns, and then a lot of times the hospitals will allow them to cut corners, and the public not know of it. So my job is just to raise the awareness at this level. So if you see shortages, if you got a nurse or somebody report back here to follow back up and say, hey, he also found this in this state, so then we can tell if it's a distributor issue or something greater than that.
Well, it's definitely something that we'll keep track of, and a lot of there's actually some really great comments as far as maybe they're stocking them up for something. Maybe they're getting ready for a massive event, and they're putting them aside for some sort of other reason. I don't know. But going back to the list of DHS things that they were asking small companies to make, like a mass fatality tracking system and all sorts of other things, it's kind of like, I wonder if they're putting them to the side. What is it called when, Dex, what is it called when the government goes in between the warehouse and the customer and takes it? The word is right at the end, tip of my tongue.
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. I wonder if that's a part of it. I don't know.
Well, we do know that the federal government has the ability to create shortages in areas that you don't expect without a contract, and just go in and do that. Because remember, with certain places was pulling, things to cover your face from other places. So that's very possible. The difference is that if whatever is going on in China that gives them the ability to lock people in, I believe they would need to keep some of those things themselves if it's bigger than what we think it is. Only reason I would think about this logically, let's not throw deductive reasoning aside. And only reason I would lock somebody in something is if something else popped out. And I told the world that it was, 19-year-olds running around, but it's really something different. And I can't risk the rest of the world knowing that. So I'll sacrifice this entire building and weld it shut just to not hit my people, because there's a WAR coming and I need as many of them as I can. So I'll sacrifice this whole building, welding the door shut to make sure this next super thing doesn't get out, because there are agents within my country that belong to another country that release something else. Just like there are people here in our military willing to give them stuff. This game happens on both sides. I don't know. I'm going to put that in your spirit.
I like how you put that. 19-year-olds. That's great. Very terrifying thought. I've always questioned why they did it for the last 3 years, and it just nothing makes sense. Nothing. There's no logical reason when the rest of the world has just went back to normal business. And everybody just assumes like, oh, well, they just want to power and control and this and that, and they want to be able to
be attacked from the inside.
Yeah, that's weird. Well, thank you, Brother Al. I can't wait to listen to your EP. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for calling. I appreciate you.
All right, you guys. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye. And I should have asked him if we could play it when we on a future show. All right, and then let's see here. Crazy. What did you guys think? Yeah, I've always wondered what the heck is going on. And then President Biedman official recently told members of Congress UKR has the military capability to take back Crimea. What in the world? So it says that a B administration official recently told members of Congress that UKR has the military capability to retake Crimea. But some officials are concerned that any large-scale offensive, now we're talking about them going and taking other land. This is stuff that was kind of rumored in the very beginning, which is kind of crazy. It says, but some officials are concerned any large-scale offensive that threaten Russia's hold on the peninsula could push Vlad to use nuclear weapons. Push him to use it, right? Say two U.S. officials familiar with the matter. The late November UKR briefing to some members of Congress included discussion of the reasons UKR will continue to need U.S. weapons. So they're basically making their case of why we need to keep sending stuff and equipment for the foreseeable future. People, this isn't ending anytime soon. We're only on month 10. If history repeats itself, this is going to go on for foreseeable future, and then all of a sudden you got yourself into a situation where we were at WW2, where the whole world is, why are we sending all this money and gear over there? And then something happens, a really horrible something happens. And then we get involved because now it's personal. If you catch my drift. It says that UKR will continue to need U.S. weapons for the foreseeable future. The two officials said a administration official, when asked during the briefing about continued support for the UKR military and whether it would try to retake Crimea, responded that UKR now has the ability to take it back. Basically because it's us over there, not just them. Asked about the response, a U.S. official said UKR has no near-term objective to retake it and that a military offensive is not imminent, but did not acknowledge that UKR has shown resilience and perseverance throughout the conflict. Administration officials say that they believe 3 recent deadly drone strikes against Russian military bases were carried out by UKR, although they say it's still not clear whether Zelensky's government ordered them directly. So they don't know if those strikes were ordered by their government. Who else has these things that have the ability to go into Russia's lines, not get shot down, and actually hit something? Okay. And then several Russian-launched missiles could have fallen near Russian city of Volgograd during attack on UKR. It says one or several Russian missiles could have fallen on the territory of the Russian Volgograd Oblast. Russian authorities do not comment on the events, but eyewitnesses post photos and videos of the wreckage. Dex, so can you go over this? The several Russian missiles possibly fell, and are they saying Russian-made, or what ended up happening with this?
Well, we don't know. All we have is the pictures and the eyewitness testimonies that say the stuff had come down, and they're suggesting that it's possibly fragments from or parts from the missile launches that were going on, and that's what this is. Of course, and there's some allegations that it could be, a UFO, but that's very unlikely when you look at the pictures. But yes, they don't know. All we know is what the citizens have reported, because the country itself, Vlad's not going to report on any of this. But there are some interesting pictures that show this stuff, show pieces and parts that have fallen. And obviously, this is it doesn't appear to be something that would have come from UKR. It appears to have happened during the time period when Vlad was doing one of the many assaults on their infrastructure. So it could be one of those that just went awry or messed up, had an anomaly in the air and came down.
Okay, I'm going to ask the chat. We're going to look over the pictures that are here. One thing that I saw consistently here is it almost looks like there's a barrel. One of them looks like it's a Home Depot bucket at the end of this. If you see the white part with tubes sticking out of it, it doesn't exactly look. I guess it's all mangled. But does anybody have experience with this? We used to have somebody that did the switches for the missiles. Does this look like it's part of a missile? Does it look like it's part of a craft, an aircraft? Does it look... It has obvious gas, something, or tubes going in and out of it. If you look at it carefully, you can see there's kind of a valve here with a pipe coming out, but then that has wires. And then it has more electrical wires right here. These look like gas tubes or something. And then you have in the next one, it almost looks like, I wonder if we'll see the parts of a Tesla, if this is the launched Tesla into space or something. What the heck is this? And then this one clearly has some sort of gas pipe coming out of it, and then it has some sort of window with this, it almost looks like heat insulation peeled back. What kind of metal is this? Does anybody have enough knowledge of metal working or anything to say? It looks like there's rivets on one side of it. Is this a large missile that came down? Is this part of their missiles, or is this something else? Is this a craft that maybe civilians took pictures of and it got shot down, but they're not telling people it did? It makes me wonder. Here is a part that is probably the most recognizable, right? Looks kind of like a gas tank. But what part of this would this be? Does anybody know? I'm going to go over to the chat here. Let's see. Weird science. Let's see here. Aircraft wreckage. It looks to aircraft wreckage to you. It looks homemade to me, says Mr. Streets. Twisted Luck Truth. Hey, nice to see you. Sputnik. Scrappy Doo says missile. Penny Salmon says horse drones. Tina Garassi, that's what I thought. Looking, specifically at this picture, it looks like a propane tank. Somebody, who said that? Somebody said looks like... Renegade Petey says looks more like aircraft parts to me. Nose cone says Monk Searcher. Drone fuselage. Oh, it could have been a drone. Do you think that this was a possible attack that failed. Floating outhouse. Looks like a nuke bomb, says Robert. Robot reindeer. Yeah, we're not close enough to Christmas. I hope they don't take down Santa. That would be pretty screwed up. Then we would have to call the Grinch, tell him he's not doing a good enough job. A muffler bracket for a 77 Pinto. I think there would be less left. I don't know. Tell me in the comments down below if you're watching the replay. Thank you. I appreciate you guys watching all the replays. Thank you so much for anybody that puts this on in the background, watches in a warehouse. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And then Russia's new defensive lines appear daunting, but looks can be deceiving. Oh, really? Or media can. I don't know. Dex, do you want to pop in here? Look, basically, it looks like they are doing a lot better than what they say they're doing. And, of course, they're failing. Their tails between their legs. They're out of missiles. They can no longer attack. They're about, collapsing, according to media.
Yes. So Vlad has made no secret of building new defensive lines deep behind its front with the UKR. So the pictures and videos that have emerged from pro-Moscow officials in the recent weeks are showing these fresh trenches and fortifications designed to help keep UKR at bay. So this is the latest imagery that they've got. They're finding these trenches and stuff. Of course, this is not at the front lines. This is sort of behind the front lines. We've talked about them pulling back numerous times. So these are new satellite images that are out. The detailed pictures show up to 5 layers of barricades and obstacles, including dragon's teeth and tank traps to block and funnel UKR forces into a single track roads where they're going to be more vulnerable. So yeah, this is just the latest, I guess, update. Now I know, a lot of what we've talked about, especially as we talk about Crimea, is Vlad taking a position to make sure he's shoring up any defense lines he may need to prevent that potential, because that's the big thing is I don't think he wants to lose anymore. His goal was to gain, and I don't think he wants to walk out of this thing losing the peninsula over there. So a lot of these things that are being set up and the troop movements are probably, in my opinion, going to be set up for defense of that if they feel that's a strategic possibility that UKR may go after it.
So it also looks like if they're preparing for some sort of bigger battle, it's looking like they're trying to go back into their territory. Obviously, this is taken territory. They're not trying to lose it. But it seems like it very well might turn into a situation where if UKR is doing so well, then Vlad's going to have to do something pretty extreme or call for their allies to help. This is looking like it's getting out of control. As Jen Stoltenberg put it, this has the potential to be an out-of-control, full-blown war. Which, if it happens, it's not like we're going to be surprised. Or at least you guys won't. So we'll see what happens here. And let's see here. We've got our next caller on deck. Let's see. And then we're going to be talking about UN rights chiefs warns of serious deterioration in UKR if strikes continue. Again, though, Vlad's totally losing, yet there's no power, water, or heat in much of UKR. So they are calling for more help, more everything. It says the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, said on Thursday that further strikes on UKR's infrastructure could lead to a serious deterioration of the humanitarian situation and spark further displacement. More people will be put out. Vlad's attacks on UKR's energy infrastructure have left millions of people without heat, clean water, or electricity as temperatures plummet, and some 18 million people now have to rely on humanitarian aid. This is all happening, and watch the next step. They're going to need more help, more gear, possible no-fly zone enforced by the U.S. and NATO, so they don't get any more of the infrastructure hit. That then leads into a gigantic escalation, and we are actually at the point where WW3 is now realistic. don't know what else to say about it. I mean, people are going to deny it and say, oh, it's fearmonger this, but it's happening. All right, let's go to our next caller. We're short on time here, so I'm going to get through the most important stories here too. It looks like we have Gifted Grace, and we have Gifted Grace from Tennessee is coming on. Gifted Grace, while you make your way through the phone system, thank you. Make sure to follow the directions there to get in. And then if you haven't already, shore yourself up with some survival food if you can. If you have the ability, this is a great way to affordably get a whole lot of food at once. You can get a 3-month supply of food for the lowest price it's been since 2019. That is, again, Mylar-packed freeze-dried foods that are then packed into buckets as well that you can store safely wherever you need it. Now, as far as the freeze-dried foods, they're going to last 25 plus years. That way, you're going to have food that's good until almost 2050. Again, this is a great thing to have on hand, not only for an SHTF or a full-blown conflict, but it's also good for just storms. If you are in a part of the country that is, of course, has a lot of different weather patterns and things that happen on a regular basis, then these are always great to have. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and again, I'm actually Dex. Did something change with that?
No, we're good. Gifted Grace is online, and we got about 12 minutes. 13
okay,
minutes
perfect. Left. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, Gifted Grace, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hi, guys.
Hello, it's nice to talk to you. So what's happening?
Well, number one, I have two things that I wanted to call in for, but you mentioned the oil thing, and that just brought to my memory that my family, and I know there's probably other families that have mineral rights that they own and whatnot, but all I can do is speak for myself. And I know that for me, myself, and my family has oil rights in Montana, and they will not, like, it is like impossible to tap into those. It's like the red tape is impossible. Now you can sell your mineral rights to a company up there. I can't remember what it was called. It was years ago when I talked to the lawyer. But because of the red tape and everything that goes with it, and it's a mess. It's just impossible to get something like that started. But we have all this available on our own soil. And it's like here we're screaming, we don't have anything for the American public to use, but yet we're sitting on it. And I, for one, would be very grateful if we would open that up. Because, well, we probably won't open it up because people like me would do way too much good with it, and they can't have that.
So you're saying we're paying $5 in $5 a gallon when there's stuff that's basically being sat on and that we could utilize to bring that price down?
Yes, sir. Like years ago, I don't know when exactly all the details. Like I said, it was a while back that I talked to the lawyer, but our oil that we have over there they capped a well. There was a well, they capped it, and there's enough oil in it that it's like bubbling up on the ground around it. So it's definitely got stuff in it, but they won't let us get into it unless, of course, I sell my rights to this big conglomerate mess of a company that's up there that, I know that there's more there than what they would give me. So it's just retarded. And I don't understand why they would put us through all of this nonsense when there's stuff to be had. That goes right along with the whole thing of, and I know you're limited on time, but that goes right along with the global crud that they've got going on, the nonsense of, whatever. They won't let us open up certain land plots. They won't let farmers open them up. And I know we've talked about that before, but it just makes absolutely no sense. We're going to let the American public and world over, but just, I'm here, my family's here, our families are here, and we have land where there's earth there's a potential of food. So what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
That is a
It's
question I can't
infuriating to
answer.
me.
Yes, and then a lot of other people are infuriated as well. Especially the whole talk about how pipelines could have happened, this could have gone this way, and well, the answer is most likely because it's on purpose. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, well, we all agree on that one.
Yes.
This brings me to my next subject.
Yep. Go ahead.
I know you're limited on time, and this I found fascinating. So in my rabbit hole searching, I found a thing called the Mice Utopia experiments.
Mice Utopia experiments.
Now, I didn't pay them much attention except for the novelty of them at first, but until they got to phase 3. Now, like I said, there's phase A, B, C, and D. Phase A was okay, so let me go a little bit history because I know you guys can't watch the video or whatever. So this guy did an experiment on these mice and rats. He did several experiments through the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Where, yes, exactly. Where he took these mice, the one that was the most city-like, and he put them in an environment where they had all the creature comforts they could possibly want. And food, nesting, there was 8 mice in total when they started, and he had the potential of having 3,000 plus mice that could live in this area. And what I found fascinating about it when they got to phase 3 was we're living in phase 3. Like if you live in a city, you're living in phase 3 of Mouse Utopia. It was insane, the similarities. So in phase 3, you had crazy stuff like they had a group that had like split themselves off and they classified them the beautiful ones. And they were basically transgender. They didn't have any desire to procreate. They didn't have any desire to socialize. They sat around and preened themselves all day. They were very narcissistic in that regard. It was just ridiculous. And then they had it was just weird. You'd have to watch the thing, but literally, when you look at what's going on in the cities, we're in phase 3. But the sad part about that is they only had 4 phases, and the last phase was death. But the population never went above, I think, a little over 2,000 at one point, and they classified the whole experiment done when the very last male mouse died. But it's just interesting, the similarities that we have in society today versus what was going on in this little Mouse Utopia experiment. And all the experiments he did, no matter how long their duration or how big the colonies, all had the same similarities throughout all of it. It's just fascinating.
And it was decades ago, and it's almost like they were taking notes. And
very much so.
And possibly some of the mice were taking luggage. We don't know. It's very fascinating. I want to see it now.
Yes, it is fascinating. I'm sorry, I'll let you talk. I'm so sorry. I just got excited because, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'll go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I'm done. I've finished my point. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, before I go, I just wanted to say that I do have a website I would like to give a shout out to. It's a blog, and you can find it under Gifted Grace or T4Twos.com. I also want to say that I have to agree with both callers, really awesome callers that came in before me, awesome people. And amen to Brother Al, because, the times that are ahead could be really, really seriously dark. But yes, there's me. But we have the potential of helping one another. And unfortunately, there is an entire world full of late bloomers. That there are people right now that are just now waking up to what's going on. And we have to remember to have a heart towards those people, because as much as our human nature is going to want to tell us to be selfish with everything that we have, I just really just don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing. Like, we cannot be selfish in the days that are coming ahead. Like, it's going to be really dangerous and really scary to share what we have and to let people in, especially the darker the days get. But it's going to be really, really important. You know, the Bible teaches us that whatever we do to, you know, one another, we've done to Jesus. So every time you turn somebody away from your door, you're ultimately turning away the Lord. And that's kind of sobering if you think about it. But it will be scary. But just remember that the Lord has us, and he's going to protect us and keep us and watch over us. And as long as we're out there doing the right thing and, you know, trying to serve the Lord and do what's right by people around us, he's going to have our back just as much as we've got everybody else's. And there is so much need right now for people that need food. Like, I help out at a church that donates food every week, like several times a day or several times a week. And the need for people to come out and help us is atrocious. Like, I give away food with people that should be sitting down and like knitting things. Like, no offense to them, but they should not be out there in this cold weather handing out food to people. But the need for people to have food right now is so great. We need volunteers out there at these food banks that are willing to donate their time and their strength and their energy.
Gifted Grace,
your life too.
I can relate to that. When every year we do stuff around Christmas time, and I go with family members and we give out food, but it's almost all 70, 80, and 90-year-old ladies who are helping us. So I get you. We are out of time, though. We're actually going to have to switch over here in a second. So I do need to hit 2 more articles. I'll just briefly hit them. Just want to let people know on the website.
That's okay. I took up way too much time.
No, that's okay, Gift of Grace. I'm just going to hit it, and then I'll say bye here in 1 second. Make sure to go over to the website. This is a very eye-opening story here. It could happen tomorrow. Experts know disaster is upon. Disaster looms for West Coast. Make sure to hit that on the website. And then also, the nation's largest water supplier declares drought emergency. All right. And then Gifted Grace, I shared your blog here on the screen, and we're going to be linking all of the appropriate things there for people to access what you were talking about.
Well, thank you so very much. And I thank you guys so much for humoring me. And I hope to get a lot of family love over there, because Lord knows I need it. And when you're talking about God, not a lot of that goes out very far. It's an unfortunate side effect of trying to say something for the kingdom.
Well, Gifted Grace, now people know where to find you. And thank you so much for calling in, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you so very much.
All right. Have a good night. That was Gifted Grace from Tennessee. You can find her blog and her YouTube channel over on marfooglenews.com. And again, that will be on tonight's page. Just to go over again, make sure to go check out this article here. Dex, what do we have? Are we down to the last 5 or?
Oh no, we're down to the last minute.
Okay, so make sure let me don't switch over yet then. Thank you, Matthew. Michael, have you heard anything about Article 42 ending on the 21st? Watch last night's show. We talked about, or 2 days ago with Tommy. Go check out the lifeboat. He's talking about it right now and in the last week. I've noticed my water is really milky this past week. Michael Hart. There are pallets with big bags of some kind of powder under my town water tower. State is MS. Michael Hart, weird. Liz Smith, thank you so much for your support. Last Man Standing, your DM and Twitter, it's not about politics. Last Man Standing, I got that message and I will be checking it. And then B-Real Beast responded to Trilicit, says, as a father of 3, I will do my best and keep a vigilant eye. Thank you. God bless. Well, thank you so much. Trisha Ann and Carol McLean, thank you for back-to-back support there. I appreciate you. Here I am, Heath Spear, and everyone else. Make sure to join us on Marfoogle Jams. The chat will jump over there. A lot of people end up going over there, and that will be where the shoutro goes. Over on the website, very important stuff about T-Man, all of the caller info, everything is going to be over on Of course, Marfoogle jams. So other comment, a whole other story there. The Twitter files are there, so make sure to go check that out. That talks about the FBI stuff I was talking about in the very beginning of the show. Dex, go ahead.
I think you covered it all. We're about to make the switch. Last comment, Elon just announced that he is unsuspending everybody based on the voting. So the people have spoken, and he's unsuspending.
Yeah, those votes are probably going to be a bad thing for his overall wanting to stop the info, but
feels weird.
Yeah, it's that's going to be, he's going to end up doing those a bunch, I bet. All right, and then Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Make sure to check out the mods channels over at Friends, marfooglenews.com/friends. We have great people over there. CJ Blaze, I don't know if we haven't seen her in a little bit, but I hope you're doing well. Bones has been here off and on. Thank you so much, Bones. I appreciate you. Rip Curl was here tonight. Lisa Hall, RGL Harris has been really great. Again, Leah, Trinity, thank you guys. Make sure to go check them out. And then PNW Affliction, a.k.a. Chance. Chance is a great author. Go check out his books. He's got the new Bunker Codes books. All of the links are there, so you can find them. Go ahead, Dex. And I believe we're switching. All right, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.